Bright Beauty. Every student matters.
Hello and welcome back to our English class, my dear students of class 7. We have been doing our composition in our previous class. If you remember, we have finished our letter writing. Today, I am coming to you with another topic from the same chapter, that is chapter 14. You will find this in your grammar textbook, chapter 14, and the page will be from 85 onwards, okay? Here, I did not mention the specific pages because we have quite a lot number of pages in which it is further subdivided into subtopics. And for today, we just have composition. And under composition, there are so many kinds of writing that is included in our syllabus. When I say composition, that is a very vast topic. You may be aware, you may not be aware, but it's okay. I'm going to teach you about that today. Under composition, you will have a lot of writing. And when it comes to the education point of view or the scoring point of view, let's take it that way. If you come to the scoring point of view, this composition part is the most scoring portion of your English subject, okay? So, because even for one question, it will be a minimum of 4 marks for a topic. It can even go up to 10 marks for a particular topic, even at your level. And these are the different kinds of composition, okay? These are the different kinds of composition that you will see. The first one is essays. We have done letters. Messages will be there. Emails will be there. Notices, posters. We know that essays are descriptive kind of writing where you have to express your views, or it can be either narrative essays, right? There can be different types of essays, and this is the topic that we are going to discuss for today. Letters can be of formal and informal letter. Messages are short messages in order to convey a quick message to someone, and emails are sent through mails. We all know that if you want to send some attachments, you can always send through email. When the file is too big to be transferred through other means, you can use your emails. Notices are some very common things. It can be in any kind of organizations. For example, I'm sure in your school, sometimes some workers will come with some assistants will come with a big register where your teachers will read out the notice for you in the class. Sometimes notices can come even through messages, or if you are the head of a colony, you can even pass notices to your colony members by pasting it on a board. And there are so many ways in which you can convey a message through a notice. Every composition has its own way of writing, okay? And posters. Posters are one kind which are written. When I say posters, you may be thinking only of pictures, but a poster writing is a different kind of writing. It is short, catchy writings in order to attract the readers, but it does not necessarily have pictures and drawings on it. Those things can be accepted, but it can even be in the form of a slogan. If you have not heard of a slogan, slogans are short writings, okay? It can be a phrase, it can be a sentence which attracts the readers. It can be very catchy, okay? Catchy means very attractive for the readers. You see advertisements by the roadside, some signboards, those are also a kind of poster, okay? So, if you learn all these things well, there's a very vast scope for you when you grow up. All of you may not become officers, all of you may not become teachers, doctors, engineers. Some of you can even enter these creative fields where there is a vast way for you to earn your livelihood as well as explore your passion. Sometimes we have something in our mind, but we do not know whether that is going to be fruitful or not. So we might even be ending up choosing the wrong profession for ourselves. If you are a person who is skilled in photography and your parents ask you to go for a doctor, who knows, you might be able to pass your doctor's examination and finish your courses, but since your passion is not there, you may not be able to perform well because your passion is in some other things else, okay? So it is very important. It is not only learning to score marks. It is not only learning for scoring marks, but these things, when you learn it at your lower levels like this, when you go to your higher classes, it is going to help you make a decision and decide a career for yourself. These are some formats of writing essays, okay? But let me just explain to you. You all know what is an essay, but I'm just going to explain it to you of what an essay is. An essay is a long connected piece of written composition, long connected piece of written information. There can be different paragraphs, but remember, all those paragraphs have to be interconnected with one another. You cannot just write about your school in one paragraph and write about the world in another paragraph. If you are writing an essay about your school, everything has to be interconnected, okay? A long connected piece of written composition on a given subject. Remember, on a given subject. That means you cannot drift away from the main subject that you want to talk about. It expresses one's personal ideas or opinions on the given topics. Personal ideas. It is not necessary that you write only about facts, okay? You write only about facts or to give information or to pass on knowledge to your readers, but it can be your personal opinion. You can just give your ideas, your views, and your feedbacks. An essay has at least 3 paragraphs, okay? I am saying at least. So it can be more than that, but not less than that. Your essay can be at least of 3 paragraphs. The first one is introduction, as I've mentioned here, okay? The first one is introduction. The part which will create interest to the reader. It should be short, brief, and catchy. I repeat, the introduction of your essay should be the part which will create interest for the readers. If they see that your introduction is not good, and it's normal for every one of us, when you read the topic, maybe if there is a topic about a thing which you are not interested. Some of you may be very interested in science and technology. Just by looking at the heading, what do? We decide whether to read or not. If you get a newspaper in the early morning, I'm sure you all look through the headings, right? You all look through the headings and choose the topic which interests you the most. An essay is also like that. When you give the introduction as a very interesting one, your readers would want to read it, or else they might ignore it. Or even if they read it, they may not be committed to it full-hearted, so they might not understand anything from what you're writing. So the most important thing that you have in your essay would be the introduction, where you can create an interest and grab the attention. You have to grab the attention of your readers. That is the most important thing. Or else your writing would be of no use. Even if you are writing a very long essay, putting all your inputs and energy and resources into it, your essay will become meaningless. It should be short, brief, and catchy. Remember, short, okay? Short, because you can just write 2-3 lines for an introduction, or even 5-6 lines. But remember to keep it very short, very brief, and also catchy. That means grabbing the attention of your readers. The next is the body of the letter, the part which comprises the main subject. Just by the name itself, we know that. And the body of the letter can be divided into a number of paragraphs. I repeat, the body of your letter can be divided into a number of paragraphs. It is not necessarily that you write exactly 3 paragraphs for your essay. There are some students, even at class 6, 7, you have a very good writing skill. Make use of that, and essays are for you. We all have different capacities. There are some students who are good at memorizing. They are good for objective type questions. But for a student who has a good writing skill, this is the portion which can be called your cup of tea, isn't it? So that you can even score your marks there. You can even explore your talents there. By looking at your writing skills, your teachers will know that you have a potential in that. So they might even guide you to do better in that particular area. And you can further subdivide into paragraphs. When I say that, if you are writing an essay about your school, imagine one paragraph can be about your location, the place where your school is situated. And the next can be, or that can be your climatic condition of that particular place. You can even write about your infrastructure. That means the building, the compound, and everything. That can be one paragraph. You can write about your uniforms in one paragraph. You can write about the teachers and the students' collaboration in one paragraph. So that is how you have to divide your essay writing, the body of your essay, okay? All points should be expanded in the body. there are some students who are very good in giving the introduction, but they are not very good at in elaborating the body, the main ideas in the body. Remember, the introduction is just to give us a quick view of what your essay is going to be like. You don't have to write a very long introduction. That means you are stealing some points from your main essay and giving it to your introduction. That should never be done. The work of the introduction is just to give a quick glimpse of what you are going to present, and the body of your letter should contain all the details of what you want to present it to your readers. Okay? And the next one is the conclusion. Remember, the conclusion. The conclusion means the ending. It should be attractive and should leave a very strong impression on the reader's mind. It can be very short, okay? Like the introduction, even the conclusion can be short, but it should be strong. You can give a very strong ending, and if there is any piece of advice that you need to give in your conclusion, you can always give. If you are writing an essay on your school, as I've said, the body of the letter contains all the details of the school that you are studying in. And then in the end, you can also give a quick advice to your readers. Words like you should love your school or you should respect the school in which you are in, because that is where your life is nurtured. That is a message, that is a kind of message that you can even place it at the conclusion of your essay. It should be thought-provoking and convincing, right? Thought-provoking. That means it should keep the readers thinking about what you have already said to them. When you give your conclusion, it should not be like the readers are dissatisfied with it. There are times that we keep reading a story and then coming to the end, we get disappointed because we did not get the thing that we expect from a story. Maybe the introduction part went very well, the body of the story went very well, but after reaching the end of the story, it turns out to be a meaningless one, or maybe it turns out to be something which is not very captivating. It should not be like that. So your essay should be thought-provoking. It should leave a message on your reader's mind that would provoke a thought. That means that would keep them thinking of what you said, and they would want to act on the idea that you have given them. That is what the work of your conclusion should be, right? It should be convincing. It should convince them, as we have been discussing about our school. If you are writing an essay on your school, it should leave a message on the readers to know that it is very important for them to love their school or for them to respect their school. That if that is the message you are giving, it should really convince them to act accordingly. Not only reading and living it, there are some pieces of articles and writings that we go through which can even be a turning point in our lives, right? Even at this young age, class 6, 7. You are in class 7 and now you are almost reaching your a level where you are going to be called an adult. So you have to also think about that, and by reading your essay, people should be able to come to a point that they should also act according to what you are writing. And then the style should be clear and fluent, okay? Sometimes you may want to convey so many ideas, but if your ideas are not clear or fluent means the easy flow of your language. Sometimes that flow is not there. You write about a particular point, give a quick stop, and then go to another topic which may not be very well connected with the other topics. That is something that you should never do. It should all be fluent. That means if you are writing about your school, it should continue to be about your school. If you're writing about your school, you cannot just go and write about your home again. It is drifting away from the central idea of your essay. That is where a student make mistakes sometimes. The language should be simple and grammatically correct, okay? Grammatical correct. Your language should be simple. That does not mean that you bring in some languages which are used just for casual conversation. It should be grammatically correct. That is something that we all should keep in our mind. There are different types of essays. I do not know whether you are aware of this or not, but there are so many types of essays which you will learn today, okay? The first essay that we are going to discuss is narrative essays. Okay, I repeat, narrative. So, by hearing the name narrative, I'm sure you got some idea of how or what kind of essay this would be. It would narrate some events. It would narrate some events or series of events that took place. It can be about a wedding, it can be about a train accident that, as I've mentioned here, an Indian marriage or Independence Day. It can be about an event that you witnessed or an event that had taken place that you are writing about. Those type of essays are called as narrative essays, okay? And then the descriptive essays. Describe some places or things. Descriptive, describe. That is same, isn't it? You are explaining about something or a place. Example, the elephant. The elephant, the people tree. Essays can be very broad. You can just write about a house also. You can write about the red fort, example, or you can write about a cottage which you like. I'm sure many people that are listening here, okay, in this class would be interested in living in cottage. We all have dream cottages where you would want to spend your life far away from the madding crowd. That's what we yearn for. So you can even write about a particular topic like that. Those comes under descriptive essays, okay? And then we also have reflective essays. What is reflective? It requires the writer to use their imagination. Reflective essays. It can be your imagination. It does not have to be factual, okay? Factual means truth. Some writings may require to write only the fact or the points which are true and relevant, but when it comes to reflective essays, it is just imaginative. You are imagining of how things would be. Example, if I were a fairy. We have been reading about fairy tales from our younger days, and there will be so many of you who are still interested in fairy tales like me. Fairy tales are some things that we want to imagine. They may not exist in the real world, but we all imagine of how things would be. So, if I were a fairy, example, what would you do if you were a fairy? You can just keep thinking, imagining. No one is going to come and say your essay is wrong because you have written this point, because you are just imagining, and every one of us have different imaginations, right? Or if I were the principal, I'm sure many of you wants to be the principal because you want to change certain things in your school, or you may be wanting to experience how the life of a principal is. These are some things that we all keep imagining, isn't it? This all comes under reflective essays. And then in a reflective essay, you can always make sure that you are giving the right points, okay? So those are the three types of essays that we have in this class. The first one is narrative, the second one is descriptive, and the third one is your imagination. You can always put those things reflective. We call it reflective, right? You can always put your imagination, and then you can always put your views into that. So we have learned there are three main parts in an essay. Whatever essay it would be, whether it's reflective or whether it's reflective, descriptive, or narrative, you know that there has to be a clear and a brief introduction, right? You need to have a clear and a brief introduction. You need to have a body which conveys all the message or your ideas that you want to express. You have to give a conclusion, right? A conclusion which would be strong, which would be thought-provoking, and which would leave a message on the readers that is quite convincing, which will convince them to act according to what you have said. These are some things that we have learned, and the three types of essays that we discussed, keep in your mind. If it is a reflective essay, you do not have to keep thinking about the factual events. You do not have to keep thinking whether it's right or wrong, because you have the freedom. You have the freedom to express anything that you were imagining or that you can imagine of. And these are the things. And when it comes to essay writing, I want you to make sure that you have to use a very good skill of writing. And when you continue writing this type of essays, it will also improve your writing skill. You are not writing because you are very good. You are writing because it will improve you. As a student, I want you to keep this in your mind, because when you write, you may think you're not very good at a particular thing. Remember, not everyone is born with a very good writing skill, or not everyone is born with a very good intellectual. There are some inborn talents, I admit that. But as a student, Why are you a student? It is because you want to learn. You should be teachable. That is the main thing that is required and that is needed of a student. So if you are sitting there thinking that your writing skills are not very good and that this type of writings are not for you, I want you to understand that it is the right time for you to develop your skills and not to be sitting there grumbling at what you are capable or what you are not. With this, we come to the end of our class for today. Thank you so much for listening patiently.